International diplomacy is often a careful dance, a subtle interplay of gestures, words, and calculated moves. Behind closed doors, leaders and diplomats weigh every phrase, seeking to avoid missteps that could escalate into crisis. But former President Donald Trump prefers a direct, confrontational approach, one that often shuns the traditional playbook in favor of bold, headline-grabbing statements. Recently, as tensions with China reached a boiling point, Trump issued a public warning ahead of a critical meeting with President Xi Jinping. He accused China of murdering American farmers through its trade practices, a charge that reverberated far beyond the negotiating table. This inflammatory language shocked global markets, sending stocks tumbling and injecting uncertainty into the world economy. The tone was unmistakably hostile, setting the stage for a showdown rather than a compromise. By framing the trade conflict as a matter of national survival, Trump not only rallied his political base, but also escalated the dispute to a new level of intensity. Supporters cheered his tough talk, while critics warned of deepening divisions. The timing, right before a high-profile summit, was a high-risk move, possibly intended to force China into a defensive position at the negotiating table. It was a calculated gamble, one that could either yield concessions or backfire spectacularly. However, such a public accusation risked making compromise nearly impossible. For Chinese officials, the charge was seen as a personal attack, hardening their stance and making any retreat politically costly. The statement drew a line in the sand, signaling that the United States would maintain a hardline stance regardless of the diplomatic fallout. Trump's message was clear: the era of quiet negotiations was over. Trump's approach emphasized leverage and public pressure, casting China as an unfair actor on the world stage. He sought to reshape the narrative, making it clear that the U.S. would not back down easily. This aggressive posture left the world questioning whether a genuine trade deal was possible, or if conflict and confrontation had become the new normal in U.S.-China relations. Allies and rivals alike watched anxiously, uncertain of what would come next. The stage was set for a high-stakes confrontation with global consequences, as two superpowers prepared to test each other's resolve in a contest that would shape the future of international trade and diplomacy. To truly grasp the impact of Trump's accusation and the resulting trade war, we need to look closely at the lives and livelihoods of American farmers, especially those in the heartland, where agriculture is not just an industry, but a way of life passed down through generations. Consider, for example, the American soybean industry, which has long been a backbone of rural economies across the Midwest, supporting entire communities and shaping the landscape of small towns. Before the trade war, China was by far the top buyer of U.S. soybeans, purchasing millions of tons each year and providing a reliable market that countless Midwest farmers depended on for their livelihoods. In 2017 alone, exports to China were worth over $12 billion, a lifeline for many farming families, helping them pay their bills, invest in new equipment, and keep their businesses afloat. But the trade war changed everything almost overnight, sending shockwaves through rural America and leaving farmers facing an uncertain future. When the U.S. imposed tariffs on Chinese goods, China retaliated by targeting American soybeans, slashing imports and leaving farmers with mountains of unsold crops and plummeting prices. Exports to China collapsed almost immediately, prices fell to their lowest levels in years, and many farmers suddenly found themselves on the brink of financial ruin, unsure how they would survive another season. The Trump administration responded with billions in emergency aid, sending checks to farmers across the country. But for many, this was little comfort. They wanted stable trade, not government handouts. The aid was a temporary bandage, not a cure, and it highlighted just how much damage the trade war had caused to the agricultural sector and rural communities. Even as tensions eventually eased, the damage was done. China had diversified its suppliers, turning to countries like Brazil and Argentina, and the U.S. lost its once dominant position in the global soybean market. This market shift is likely permanent. American farmers now face a more competitive, unpredictable global market, with fewer guarantees and more risk than ever before. The legacy of the trade war is a lasting realignment that continues to challenge the heartland, threatening not just individual farms, but the fabric of rural communities and the small businesses that depend on them. The cost was not just economic, but a blow to the stability and spirit of rural America, as families and communities struggle to adapt to a new and uncertain reality. Just as talks loomed, the Trump administration shocked the world with a new 100% tariff on Chinese goods. This massive escalation, combined with new software restrictions, targeted both traditional trade and China's tech sector. The tariffs functioned as an economic blockade, while the tech rules aimed to protect U.S. innovation. The move signaled a shift toward a full-scale technological Cold War, making de-escalation difficult. Markets plunged, businesses scrambled, and global supply chains faced chaos. The message was clear: stability was gone, and the trade war had entered a new, unpredictable phase. In response to escalating tensions, China zeroed in on a critical vulnerability in the U.S. economy: rare earth minerals. These minerals, though often overlooked, are the backbone of countless modern technologies and industries. There are 17 rare earth elements, and they're absolutely essential for manufacturing everything from smartphones and electric vehicles to advanced military hardware like fighter jets and missile guidance systems. Without them, the world as we know it would grind to a halt. China doesn't just mine these elements. It also processes and refines them at a scale unmatched by any other country. This dominance means the US, along with much of the world, is deeply reliant on Chinese supply chains for these critical materials. When Beijing tightened export controls on rare earths, it wasn't just a bureaucratic move. It was a calculated warning. If the US pushed too hard, China could squeeze the supply of materials vital to entire industries, from tech to defense. While China stopped short of a full embargo, the message was clear: the world's supply chains are interconnected, and China holds a powerful card, one that could disrupt global manufacturing and innovation overnight. This move marked a turning point in the US-China trade war. What began as a battle over tariffs and trade balances had now escalated into a struggle over the very building blocks of modern technology and economic power. For the US, the challenge is daunting. Rebuilding a domestic rare earth supply chain requires massive investment, new infrastructure, and years of development. It's a slow, expensive process, with no quick fixes. China's actions forced American leaders to face a hard truth: their industries, and even national security, were at risk. This realization sparked urgent debates in Congress and the White House about how to secure critical supply chains for the future. The rare earths gambit revealed that economic conflict between the US and China was not just about tariffs or trade deficits. It was a two-way street, with both sides holding significant leverage. As negotiations grew more intense, the stakes for both nations and for the world had never been higher. The battle over rare earths was now at the heart of a global power struggle. Just as tensions peaked, Trump shifted to a more conciliatory tone in a Fox News interview, saying, "I'm not looking to destroy China." He admitted the tariffs weren't sustainable long-term and praised President Xi as a strong leader. This mix of praise and criticism is classic Trump, keeping the door open for negotiation. Soon after, Trump and Xi held a rare, direct phone call, described by China as positive, friendly, and constructive. The call signaled both sides wanted to manage the conflict and avoid total breakdown. The conversation touched on trade, agriculture, and global issues, offering a brief moment of hope, but the volatility of the relationship left the world bracing for the next twist. Despite occasional positive signals, experts agree a comprehensive US-China trade deal is unlikely. The conflict has deepened into a rivalry over technology, security, and global influence. The US demands structural changes to China's economic model, demands Beijing sees as threats to its sovereignty. Mutual distrust grows with every escalation, making compromise politically risky for both sides. The focus has shifted from a trade deal to strategic decoupling, especially in high-tech sectors. As long as competition overshadows cooperation, any agreement will be superficial and temporary. The era of deep economic integration may be over. The US-China trade war's impact is felt far beyond Washington and Beijing. American farmers, once reliant on China, now face lasting uncertainty and financial distress. US businesses must absorb higher costs or pass them to consumers, while scrambling to rework supply chains. For everyday Americans, tariffs mean higher prices on everything from electronics to clothing. The promise of protecting US industry comes at a direct cost to consumers. The volatility makes long-term planning nearly impossible for farmers and businesses. The ongoing conflict has entangled millions in economic uncertainty. The superpower showdown's consequences will shape lives for years to come.